America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to our official meeting. Our president, Mr. Quinter, is not here tonight, so I'll do the best I can to take his place. I'd like to announce that the board did have an executive session prior to the official meeting this evening. Before we get to the public comments, I'd like to take a moment to recognize in memory of Dr. Corso, a former superintendent of the school district who passed away on December 29th. So we'll just have a moment of silence for Dr. Corso. Thank you. We'll move on to the formal opening, where the public has the opportunity to comment.
You missed it, Pat.
Hunter Aarons?
Well, I'll just stand because this is for the public as well. I am organizing a community event next Wednesday at Wrighton Elementary School. It is seeking to raise awareness on the issue of child sexual abuse. I know I've invited all of the board members. Dr. Martin and Dr. Davies, I don't think it got in your email. There's something that wouldn't allow it. I think it was probably because it said sexual on it. But it is
filtered.
It is open to the public, and I invite you all to come.
We're going to change it.
There will be a couple of speakers that have been experts in this issue, especially in Berks County. Representative Mark Rossi, Representative David Maloney, and State Senator Judy Schwank will be there to learn a little bit more about this issue, and I invite all of you to come as well and make yourselves aware. Very important issue. Because this, it's the issue that's considered, that needs to be taken from darkness to light. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys are estimated to be sexually abused before they turn 18. About 42 million Americans live as victims of child sexual abuse. In context, there's about 315 million people in the United States right now. So it's a very pressing issue, and I invite you all to come and find out a little bit more about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment before the board moves on to the agenda?
Mr. Maynard?
Yes.
I had gotten an email from Mr. David Hughes, and he wanted to be here at the board meeting this evening. However, he's in California, and he sent me an email that he would like me to read to the board concerning his concern. Is that proper? All right. The gentleman lives at. His name is David Hughes, and he lives at 255 West 47th Street, Reading, PA. He said, I'm very much opposed to this merger. He's talking about the merger between Antietam and Exeter, since it was in the paper these past few weeks or several days, for several reasons. As an experienced corporate accountant, I have participated in numerous mergers and acquisitions. From my experience, they very rarely work out as expected. For this reason, I am opposed to this merger and oppose further Exeter Township resources being applied at this time to study this idea that a merger might be beneficial to Exeter. In my opinion, in review of the data supplied in the report made public, there is not enough of a significant synergy generated for this merger to add value to the Exeter School District. The combined school districts will not be more efficient, and in fact, I believe, will reduce the current high level that Exeter currently operates. The foolish idea that costs will be reduced by absorbing a school district that has a lower rating, a restricted budget, and little room to grow the tax base will become Exeter's problem. We will be faced with a larger school district, precipitating administrators expecting increased salaries, teachers expecting the same, increased pension obligations, logistical problems, and larger class sizes. The savings expected from eliminating redundancy is a dream. When someone tells you this run for the hills, in my experience, it never happens. How many of you on both boards have been involved in any mergers prior to this? Until the state creates laws and regulations that are more favorable to a merger, this action to merge should not be considered. The potential for property values to fall in Exeter Township are a real possibility, as we know that demand for homes in higher rated school districts tend to bring higher valuations than in lower rated school districts. This is apparent in the report comparing the average home values in both school districts. This combination has the potential to bring Exeter's rating down significantly from its current rating. I thank you for considering my opinion on this matter. As I said sincerely, his name is David Hughes.
Okay.
Mrs. Guy, would you like this then?
Yes, please.
We'll move on to the minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from December 3rd? We have two sets of minutes
So
from
moved,
December 3rd,
December.
December 17th.
Second.
Any comments on the minutes? All those in favor of the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Do you hear a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
I move the Treasury's report as printed.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of accepting the treasurer's report say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Staub, business functions?
I move that the Board of School Directors, the Exeter Township School District, authorize settlement of the assessment appeal filed by Walmart Real Estate Business Trust, the number 11-26076, Berks County Court of Common Pleas, in accordance with the attached stipulation. And resolve further, the solicitor is authorized to execute the stipulation on behalf of the school district. That's an attachment 5A.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments?
Can I just ask, can they go back again every year and ask for reassessment, or how's that?
They could. This is covering 3 years because that's how many years we have under appeal right now. And we're ending up with an assessment pretty close to what the original assessment was. So they have not had a great deal of success in knocking this down. They put a nice place up, and they're consequently getting a higher assessment. But annually, if you come within that window of July 1st to August 15th, you could always file an appeal.
Now, there is one good thing that there has been, at least we're starting to see a little bit of appreciation in the market. I think we're going to see less and less assessment appeals down the road. However, when you get to a tract this size, it's so difficult to come up with a value. It's not like there was 3 sold within a mile down the road. So it's fortunately with this, it's not a significant amount. So I think we made out fairly well.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I move that the Board of School Directors approve submission of Plan Con Part J for One pre-construction project, number 3511, project accounting based on final costs. That's an attachment 5B.
Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I move that the Board of School Directors approve the submission of Plan Con Part K to the Pennsylvania Department of Education for the advanced refunding of a portion of general obligation bond series of 2009A and 2010, which settled on January 9th, 2014. That's an attachment 5C.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I move that the Board of School Directors exonerate Exeter Township School District Tax Collector from the collection of the remaining 2012 per capita duplicate for Exeter Township consisting of 1186 delinquent per capita and 718 exonerated per capita bills, and authorize the district to submit the delinquent per capita bills to Burkheimer Associates for collection. Prior year consisted of 1105 delinquent per capita and 611 exonerated per capita bills.
Second.
Any comments?
Do you know what their percentage of collection is on delinquent bills?
In the high, I didn't calculate that, but it's in the high 90s.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I move that the Board of School Directors approve the submission to the Berks County Tax Claim Office the 2013 St. Lawrence Borough School real estate taxes declared delinquent in the amount of $26,563.20. Collection rate was 98.85%. Last year was at 97.4%. That's in attachment 5E.
Any comments?
It's a very good number.
Yes. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I move that the Board of School Directors approve the submission to the Berks County Tax Claim Office the 2013 Exeter Township School real estate taxes declared delinquent in the amount of $1,219,684.47. Collection rate was at 96.9%, which is the same as last year. That's in attachment V or 5F.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any comments?
And the 1 million plus, is that mostly property taxes on individuals, or are there some big businesses that owe us back taxes?
I went through the list, and if we just look at the dollar value, about a third of that amount of money is related to commercial properties. There's several lots in there. There's about 34 properties out of 389, which were really commercial development.
And we will turn that over to,
Yes, it's turned over and then collected.
do they usually come, or they just wait until it's almost ready for auction or something, then they pay up, or how does that usually work? Do they usually pay it now during
Yes,
this
they
next
do.
coming
It's
year?
the commercial ones, they come up with a payment plan, and yes, eventually it's collected.
Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I move that the Board of School Directors of the Exeter Township School District ratify the agreement between the Board of Directors of Exeter Township School District and the Exeter Township Act 93 employees effective July 1st, 2013 through June 30th, 2016, attachment 5G.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I move that the Board of School Directors approve budget transfers for the month of December 2013 in the amount of $10,137. That's in attachment 5H.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Includes business functions.
Thank you. Can I have somebody to do personnel, please? Thank you.
I move that the Board of School Directors approve or ratify the following appointments listed under number 1, certificate staff, 2, substitute teachers, and 3, support staff.
Second.
Would you like to add the addendum to that?
And also listed under the addendum, certificated staff, number 1, B, C, and D.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any comments? All those in favor of The appointments, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Move that the Board of School Directors approve the following staff conferences listed as number 1 through 11 on our original agenda and number 12 and 13 on the addendum to the.
No, there's the other, no, the opposite page. So,
Wow, there's a lot of conferences.
yeah.
And then also 14 through 18 on the addendum to the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments on Part D staff conferences? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We go back to
B
D,
and C.
B and C.
I said that as far as 1, 2.
I thought we were just,
Yeah, we just said appointments.
yeah.
Just trying to move it. Move that the Board of School Directors approve or ratify the following request for leave of absence. Number 1, support staff Sarah Moore.
Second.
Comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Move that the Board of School Directors approve or ratify the following appointments under support staff A through D.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
That concludes this section.
Thank you. Mrs. Kutcher, student functions.
The field trips in item A have been reported, and I did notice that I think it was a young lady from the junior high school that was selected for the county courts. So nice to hear. Beyond that, nothing else on that. Okay, item B. I move that the board of
Mrs. Fisher, could you please use the microphone?
I'll try.
I move that the Board of Directors approve a tuition agreement between Hogan Learning Academy LLC and Exeter Township School District for special education services for student number 221165 beginning January 2nd, 2014 through the remainder of 2013-14 school year at a cost of $350 per day.
Second.
Any comments?
I mean, if you look at the $350 a day times 90 days, I guess, that goes out to $31,500. Why is the cost so, that's a half a year? So is there a reason for this tremendous cost to us?
Yes, the student has severe autism and has a lot of other services like occupational therapist and speech therapist, et cetera, so that's what drives the cost up.
And we get no help from the state on these issues?
No, not in this particular case. I believe it has to be above $75,000 now for them to have a cost-sharing agreement with the school district.
Even a half a year has to be about $75,000?
No, but this, I don't think this would meet the threshold, even at a full year rate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Before I make this motion, I can't seem to find my school calendar. Does anyone have
It's one in the packet
Did
tonight.
you find it right above your swearing in?
No.
I believe it is in there, but this is,
I take that back.
that's okay. This,
Find that.
I don't know if the board feels that it has had sufficient time to review the calendar. It's basically this year's calendar, just moved up a year. So it does not, even though it is on the board, on the agenda for approval, it does not need to be approved this month if the board would like to study it any further. If you're happy with this year's calendar, I guess there's no...
Jim?
May I request that we just look at it tonight and discuss
Sure.
it and then move to
Sure.
the next one?
Sure, absolutely. That's what I'm saying, that would be...
I mean, the first, are we open to discussion?
Yes.
Sure.
First thing I
I'll
knew
move
is,
it. Should I move
you
it?
move to remove?
Oh, yeah.
To move to table.
You moved. Is there a second?
Second.
I didn't either, actually. I said before, I was looking for my school calendar, I couldn't
Yeah,
find
now
it.
you found it.
Now I found it. All right.
So you made a motion to,
I will make a motion.
Now we seconded it.
Can
She
we
didn't
start
make it
this
yet.
conversation over again? However, we can discuss it, and then if we choose not to move on it, we can table it until the next
Yes.
meeting. Thank you very much. All right, so it's moved and seconded. Feel free.
Find that on my calendar.
Generally, I don't have many issues with the calendar at all. Just thought maybe it's good to digest something for a period of time. Something that hit me in looking at the past week and the celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday was the fact that, students take off from school, and frankly, I think they just think it was another day off, and they don't appreciate what the day means. And you look towards a lot of other school districts, or you go towards other communities, you see there's a lot of emphasis on service during that day. And I wonder if, there's some way we could look in the future at maybe making that a required like a service day for our students, or something along those lines, or some way of bringing this to some kind of purpose beyond just kids saying, oh, I got another day off. Because frankly, I think that kind of loses the whole value of what the man stood for.
Right.
I
sort of think that required service
Maybe required, but
sort of loses the idea of what service really is.
But some way of, maybe not required, but some way of accounting for the fact that we should be remembering what he stood for and what value he had for everyone as a community, not just saying, oh, it's another day off for kids. I don't know. Maybe students have a different opinion. We have one in the front row.
I agree with you, Mr. Brady. I think it is a great idea, not that it's required, but that there might be some children within our district that could think between now and next year of what they could do possibly on Martin Luther King Day to give back to the community in which they live, whether it's just here in Exeter or the community at large. Because I think it's a great idea. And we certainly want our children to think about the community that they live in and all the things that the community does for them, especially, providing the education that they do for them at, maybe no cost or minimal cost if they're in the high school with some fees. And I think it's a great idea. I saw that they did have a lot of students, participating in community service, and it's a wonderful thing. So maybe we can look in that, maybe you as president, or bring it up at student council or whatever, see what the students feel, and even at the junior high level and even elementary school, students they can do things even around their neighborhoods, whether it's even helping out someone when they see they need their snow shovel maybe on their walk or something. You never know. But
Thank you for bringing it up.
I agree with the idea, but I think we also have to consider that it's an in-service day, so we have to think about should the staff be involved in terms of organizing this, or
Well, I mean,
something.
and it doesn't necessarily have to happen on that exact day, does it? I mean, it could be around that same time, but still have that day off for the students. It is a national holiday now, and
Yeah.
I don't think we want to have them necessarily in school on that day, but that doesn't mean we can't do activities and instructional things geared toward recognition of who he was, and I think we do in many cases.
I think
And it's built into the curriculum,
doesn't
but
have to be
still,
on that
it's,
I mean, I think it's just something to think about going forward, and even if it isn't a program type thing, maybe there's ways of looking at developing some kind of, maybe let the students themselves,
I like the idea that the student
let them
council took the
let them
initiative.
take ownership of it, and then we can endorse what they're doing.
Good luck.
You're in charge.
I'm not in charge.
You are one day.
I wish I was in charge.
That's all.
I'm not in charge.
Someday. That's a really good realization. Yeah.
The quicker you come to
Hang on
terms with
to
this.
I have a positive comment about the calendar. I like the idea that all the official school days as they stand now finish before the anticipated high school graduation. That would probably be
Worked
around
hard on that, and we're thinking of you,
June 5th.
Dave.
Thank you.
I like the fact that we don't
Unless
end,
we have a bazillion snow days, like.
Yes.
at this point, I like the fact that we don't end school on a Monday.
Unless there's a few snow days.
Snow's a whole different subject, but the fact we're
I just want everyone to keep that in mind this year.
In honor of Mr. Quinter, I'd really like to reconsider starting after.
I was hoping you'd just pass it quickly.
Wow, yeah,
Only
come
if
on.
we can go
He's
all
not
year,
easy.
if we go all year long, we'll let you start after Labor Day.
We began the discussion with the possibility that the motion to table was.
So moved.
Is there a second to
Would you
table
like
the
to?
motion? Table the motion, yeah.
Second.
All those in favor of tabling the motion?
Discussion.
No
Discussion?
on table.
All right.
I don't really think this needs any more discussion, but.
Well, just in case something comes up that you see between now and then.
All right.
We do have some time. I mean, this is early to be approving it, but, you know. So not in any rush.
One other quick comment as we consider this, and that's just, have we looked at, does BCDC have their calendar out? And
They do have
we
their
looked at
calendar
conflict
out,
days?
and I haven't, every year we improve on that, and
Yeah, I think so,
they
too.
have their calendar out, but I haven't looked at it yet, to be honest with you. If they didn't make any major changes, and usually they tell us if they are, then I think we're in pretty good shape, and we got a lot closer this year than we were in previous years even. I think we're doing pretty well with alignment to that.
All those in favor of tabling the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to table passes.
I move that the Board of Directors approve the 2014-15 Soaring Eagle Program of Studies catalog for the senior high school students and staff.
Second.
Any comments?
Is Mr. Kane here?
Yes.
Were you able to make the changes that we talked
At
about?
the curriculum meeting?
Pardon?
The changes we talked about at the curriculum meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I thank you for sending that note back to me today.
Very welcome.
Well, too bad. I think I sent you an email with several comments. Maybe I sent it to you and you didn't get it, then it's lost in cyberspace.
I did not.
Okay. I think we need to go back and look at some of the things in the Soaring Eagle before the next year. We probably need to do it as a committee. And seeing as how it's stayed in student functions all this time, I guess it's my favorite. So pick a time that you want to thinking about it.
Okay.
And then let me know, and then we'll arrange for a meeting, because we just have to clean up some of the stuff that needs to be cleaned up.
Okay.
We'll try it again.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can I make a public comment?
You're certainly welcome.
To the curriculum meeting at the beginning of the month, I'm trying to remember what it was, the percentage change for taking an AP exam versus not taking the AP exam, was that looked at any time?
Hunter, I asked Mr. Mulsney to take a look at that, and I don't think he's had a chance to yet. I don't want to speak for you, John.
Mosley's got a 4.5 GPA.
On a 5-0 scale.
Hunter, you want to mention your concerns so all of us understand?
Do you want me to stand up? I like standing, it's okay.
Sure.
All right, so the concern that I had is right now for an AP level class, you get a 5% bump on your GPA. Is that correct? 5% bump as long as you do not take the AP exam. If you take the AP exam, not depending on what you get on the AP exam, you get a 10% bump instead. And it was my thought that because that 5% bump is equal to a regular honors level class, but an AP class is more rigorous than an honors level class, that it would make more sense for a 10% bump to just be across the board if you pass that AP class. did I hit the?
What do you mean pass the class?
So if you pass the AP class, instead of getting, so for most classes, it's 1 credit. And if you pass an AP class as well as take the AP exam, you get a 1.1 credit. So it contributes to a greater percentage of your GPA.
For class rank.
As opposed, if you don't take the AP exam but still pass the class, you get bumped down to a 1.05 credit.
Right.
Did I miss anything there?
Yeah, except you said it's increasing the credit. It's not increasing the credit, it's increasing
yeah.
the GPA, yeah.
My apologies.
But the GPA is not, it's not your GPA, it's your class rank. It doesn't affect your GPA.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you,
Yeah, it's
sure,
not
that's
related.
extra GPA, and that's how you establish class.
Right.
But I think the purpose behind taking the AP course is you're preparing for the exam. So it's almost part of the course is to take that AP exam, and therefore you
Yeah.
bump yourself that
The
0.05.
question arose as to whether we are on firm legal ground to have students take, two students take the same course and potentially get a different GPA factor, for lack of a better word to call it, even though they might be equally successful in the course based on whether or not they took the College Board AP exam.
And that question got passed over
That's
to
right.
me.
Yes.
As to whether or not it was legal to.
The legal aspect
and
of it.
I researched and I could find nothing that would indicate that it's not legal to do that now. Obviously, if it was based upon certain other criteria, such as racial criteria, availability, that's where I've seen all the lawsuits that come out about the advanced placement exams. But I've not been able to find anything. That
Yeah, John, I really thought in that conversation someone referenced a specific case.
Yes, there was,
I
there was at least precedent of a case being brought for that specific
If
purpose.
you
in
wanna
Western
send it to me.
Pennsylvania. It may not have ever been taken to court.
Yeah, I have not, I looked at it because I knew that there was a case that was supposed to be out there, but I could find none that had covered that.
But
Yeah, I
even if-
mentioned that you had said that, but I didn't know anything about the background of the case, and
But even irregardless of whether there is case precedent, I still think that it is a wrong precedent to set, essentially to pay $90 to take an AP exam to influence your either GPA or to influence your ranking.
Because I agree, I think 4.5 months of class takes precedence over a 2 or 3 hour test.
Did we
I really
remember,
did.
you only have to take it. You don't
Yeah,
even
that's what I'm
have to
saying,
take
you
it.
could literally go in, sign your name, fall asleep,
Yeah.
get a 0 or whatever, and you are a 1.1.
Did we ever?
the only thing I would like to say about this, and it was just some sort of a motivator we came up with because we wanted more kids to take the test. And at the time, we were paying for the test or reimbursing for the test. But the only thing I want to say about it is we were just recently recognized by the college boards for the fact that we not only increased the participation, but we also increased the number of successful scores. And I really think in part that this was a factor. It did become a motivator for students to not only take the AP exams, but to succeed very well on them. And I think it has a lot to do with us tightening our curriculum and so forth. I don't know, Mr. Kane, if you have any feelings about it, one way or the other, but.
I do understand the history. It predates me, but I understand the history of the 1.1 being dependent upon taking the exam as a motivation. Because I understand there was a time when a significant number of students took the classes without taking the exams. I don't know that that's necessarily a factor anymore. I think partially because of the improvement in the instruction and the structuring of the exams, students want to take the exam because they're confident that they're going to do well. And that was not always the case. Even in my first couple of years here, we would have a significant number of students who wouldn't take the exam despite the 1.1 incentive. And when we talked to them, they said, I don't really think I'm ready for it. And that we're not hearing that anymore. I think the instructors have done a great job in preparing the curriculum and making sure that they're preparing the students adequately, so the students go into those exams confident.
One of the rationales that was presented to the board to justify this was that the teacher felt that if all the students, there were students who would not take the exam, it could affect the dynamics of the class, and that in terms of some students working harder than others. But from your comments, Mr. Kaner, you're saying that that may not be a legitimate concern anymore.
My personal opinion, I really don't think that's a concern. I think we have AP instructors in place who are doing the job you expect a professional teacher to do, engaging their students and making them want to learn, and feeding on that desire to learn.
I don't think it really has anything to do with the teacher or the course. I think it has to do with the $90 and the test, and what impact that test has on GPA or class ranking. And legally, I can't see how we could ever have solid footing on that, whether there's precedent or not. I'm not sure anyone does it quite like this.
I mean, if you're making an argument as to $90 being the difference that you can buy your way to a grade, then you might have a case there.
Well, that's exactly
But I mean,
what
if
it is.
If it's just a matter of dollars, then I can see that it being the case, because I've seen that in some cases in California where they talked about that poorer schools having less availability of AP courses than richer schools.
But we also have a process in place whereby students who can't afford it are given that opportunity to take it anyway. So it's not
So I
like
think
we're
that would-
discriminating against students in poverty. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. It's really up to the board. Mr. Kane doesn't seem to have a strong preference.
What's the process of just making it to what we're requesting to do? Just have to
Change it, and, yeah.
How do we go about that policy change?
You want to make a motion to?
Well, I think we should allow our superintendent, Dr. Davies, to review the policy and maybe come back to us next month. And, I don't know,
We can't, we have
I mean, I
to,
don't think we should just make a decision tonight.
we need the document approved. If you want to remove that from it and then deal with
Exactly.
that separately, that's fine.
I don't think we can make that decision tonight.
No.
I would suggest that we go ahead with what we have at the moment and take the next year to straighten this mess out, which has been a headache for 20 years or more. And
What mess are you referring to?
the bump mess and the credit that you're going to give in order to keep this on an honors, to keep this course.
I think we have enough time now to make an adjustment for next year. I mean, we're looking at 8 months away. We're not looking at something that's happening next week. Why can't we make a policy
Do you need this by
adjustment?
next, do you need this tonight?
We need the document.
We need the
Well, I'll let Mr.
document.
Kane
Yeah.
speak to
Oh,
it.
okay.
It's in the document.
Yeah, but we can modify the document prior to next year, can't we?
Yes.
Yes, but we need this approved tonight so that they can go
I'm
ahead
not
and
saying
make
that.
their
I'm saying we
schedules
can approve this document, but we can make a modification to the value of the credit between this date and the time of the beginning of the next school year. So a student going into the AP course has already signed up for the AP course, they'll just know now that it's not, their 1.1 isn't contingent of them signing up for an exam, though the
Right.
majority of students will probably go for that exam anyway. But that's not something they'll have to worry about
So that-
because of this.
up. Right, you just have to decide if you're going to make them all 1.05 courses.
No,
Yes.
1.1.
no, 1.05 and 1.1 courses. Because if you go for an AP course, theoretically, you're going to have a higher demand course there.
I know, but,
Can we refer this then to the Student Functions Committee?
and the student fund.
Sure.
And I would recommend a third option, which of course I hadn't realized that we already do, but just pay the $90 fee for everyone.
We were
we have
doing
done
that,
that.
we got rid of
As part
that
of our
because
reduction
budgets.
of costs, we eliminated.
But I mean, I think that is
That's the budget problem.
That's a budget
because
issue.
then what that does is it gives the student, if he or she wants to carry that to college, it gives them that, I mean, it solves a lot of problems.
I agree.
Up until a few years ago, any
Seriously,
student
I do.
who had a 3 or
We did
above.
that.
If Russ and I agree, it's good.
Well,
No,
it's become a financial issue. right?
Tim,
Yeah.
up until, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, any student who had a 3 or above, we paid for that. But when we looked at the budget, and that's when we had to look at cuts, and we started looking and saying, what do we cut? It was actually at the same time that we put on the fee for students having participation in activities.
We have a lot more kids taking the test now, so
Yeah.
multiply the number of tests that are taken times almost $100 a test. So we have to make sure that, that's feasible.
But it's all contingent about passing. You're getting at least
Well,
a
should
3.
it be?
Well, no, but it was all about, they had to get at least a
Should it
3.
be continued?
They had to-
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It was.
At one point, when I first started here, it was not contingent upon their grade. We would pay for it up front.
Right, and then we switched.
And then we switched to,
Paid after the
We'll
fact.
pay,
yeah,
after
we pay
tax.
for it if you get a 3 or above.
Yeah.
If not, you're on your own. And then we got rid of that just in the past couple of years simply because of budgetary concerns. And there was a fear among the board that that could actually reduce the number of tests taken. It actually did not. Our number of tests went up. I don't think the money was really the big issue. Obviously, they would love to have the test, paid for. The parents loved having that reimbursement. But it didn't prevent them from taking the test because, in fact, our numbers went up. So, it's great if we pay for it.
And Dr. Martin, how many students did take AP? I mean, how many AP
Exams?
exams were taken?
160 some, Bill, was it somewhere?
Yeah, I remember the exact number,
Yeah.
but it was about 160.
Yeah,
And how many had a 3 or over?
like 90%,
Higher than
almost.
that. I believe there were 5 students, 5 tests that were under 3.
Right, so you're talking about almost, the kids are very well prepared and they
excellent,
do
yeah.
well, which is really good.
Now, they can then use that to not have to take college courses? Is it?
It
Theoretically.
depends on the
Depends on
college.
what the school, what the
Right.
college will accept, I guess, huh?
Well,
They either accept it for their major or they accept it as an elective. And they'll accept
And
either a 3, 4, or a 5.
And different colleges will accept 3, 4, or 5. That's up to the college.
But it's good across the country. I mean, unlike the RAC program courses.
Yeah, great. So do all the public colleges in Pennsylvania accept the AP courses?
public colleges aren't the problem, it's the private schools, but a lot of times the private schools will take that and allow a student not to have to take an entry or an intermediate, it allows them to move further into their major. It just depends, typically a 3 is not looked upon very highly, but 4 and 5 is what
Yeah.
takes the weight.
Sure.
Another part of the Soaring Eagle are the course descriptions and new courses, and I've expressed my concern to Mr. Kane about 2 new courses. Interior design of the home, which is an introduction to planning and decorating a home, and a second course, Life 101, what do you do with the weekly paycheck? And
I'm going to audit that course myself.
Well, now you're retired, you can know.
You don't get a paycheck.
Now you have to
What do you do without it?
Well, why don't we just
excuse me.
I
I like to finish my comment. And then I just feel that courses like these are not up to my vision of the standards for the high school. So I'm opposed to including these life skills courses in the curriculum, where students would getting the same amount for what I consider rigorous courses as these 2 classes. And including these classes seems to be contradictory to the rigor that we've heard about from the high school in terms of improving the standards of the learning process over there.
I truly think that part of what we need to do is prepare kids for life. And I believe that there's room in our curriculum, I believe there needs to be room in our curriculum for these kinds of courses. I think it's important for kids to know the basics. You have no idea how many kids I have as seniors that have never looked at a checkbook, have never written a check. And you know what? At some point,
But I think the thing we have to look at is if we were to examine page 36, course 426, it's called personal finance, which seems to cover a number of things that would be inside here. Maybe not as friendly a terms as saying the Super Bowl and things of that nature, but a video on demand, no, that's what it says in Life 101. But in personal finance, the course provides students with a basic understanding of money management and personal financial planning. Topics to study include household budgeting, banking services, consumer lending, use and abuse of credit, investing in stocks and bonds, insurance, career exploration, financial aid for college, estate planning, and other topics designed to help students plan for their financial future and develop a positive relationship with money. So it seems like we have two courses doing almost the same thing, except one sounds really happy, friendly, and the other one sounds more practical and down to earth.
Mr. Kane, would you want to address that?
The course of the Family and Consumer Science would essentially be, if you will, financial literacy 101. Whereas the name of one of the personal finance is more like a 300 level course. It is a much more sophisticated course, and that's why it's open only to 11th and 12th graders. The Life 101 is meant to start introducing those concepts of financial literacy to the younger students. Again, it's open to everybody because not all kids can make, have the availability in their schedule necessarily, or the desire to take the sophistication of the business level course. But it's not, the business level course dwells much more on the more sophisticated aspects. Doing a cursory look at its basic financial literacy, whereas the Family and Consumer Science course really is emphasizing the basic financial literacy aspects.
And I guess one of my things, because I know that my children, I think 2 of the 3, they took photography as an elective, and they were all in honors classes and AP and all that stuff. What's the difference of that or this, the interior? So, I mean, I can't say whether or not I would take this class or whether it has value to me, but to maybe 20 kids it does. I do not know. And I know there are certain classes where we do have electives, so I'm not sure if it's good, bad. I mean, as far as the interior design of the home, if we feel it does have value for a certain number of students, as far as it being effective, I don't have an issue with it. I can tell you that financial literacy, I think you know where I stand. There is legislation pending, by the way, from our group to make it mandate, and it should be. When you look at what is going on out there in the world. And again, I'm waiting for the legislation to go through before I get on my soapbox. So when it comes to these, I think that it's great to have options for all of the students in the school, as opposed to certain segments.
One of the things
I would not
I
be
like-
averse to these being there.
The Life 101, one of the things I like about it is it's very much problem solving and decision making and so forth. Scenarios that students would have to go through as they would go through in real life as adults that they will become in a few years. You have to determine, I'm in this career, how much is it going to pay me to be in this career? Oh, I didn't know. Is that all I'm going to make if I go into this? That was kind of where I was leaning, and now, I'm not going to have a very big paycheck. Or maybe I think it's a big paycheck, and now I get an electric bill, and and all the things that I'm going to have to, budget. How am I going to budget this money? What happens when I'm out of money and I have to still have groceries to buy? How do I do that? How do I get to work? Am I going to ride a bus? Do I need to buy a car? Oh, I forgot about that. I didn't budget for a car. I don't have enough money left. All of those things that, I think as teenagers, kids have to sort of see, okay, this is what I'm going to have to face in real life. Maybe I ought to rethink my plan here. And skills that sometimes kids in their 20s, I know my kids went through phases where, they were calling asking for money because they were out of it, because they thought they, could still go out and still be able to pay for things that, they couldn't afford. You know, and you learn through trial and error, but I think this course might help prepare you to maybe learn a little bit earlier in life, hopefully. As far as the interior design, I see a lot of technical things about design that they're going to be learning through this, and I don't see this as being different from any sort of an art course or anything like that. I mean, if they were to choose to go into the design field, I think that's a very lucrative field, and yes, Jim?
One of the things I just wanted to remind everyone is we have recently gone through an overhaul of the math and science requirements and graduation requirements. And we're also looking at the availability of 8th grade foreign language and 8th grade math courses that are high school level courses counting towards graduation credit. So having more elective courses available for students to take in the senior high school, you know, is important, and it is difficult to find the diversity. So it's really nice to see some of these new courses. Maybe they'll work, maybe they won't, but it's nice to have that diversity in the schedule.
Yeah, they may not run, but I think they would be attractive to students, and I think you could learn a lot from them. You know, maybe not rocket science, but I still think there's a place for that, and there's a place, you know, to learn just how to be an adult in the world.
I think that, oops, I'm sorry.
She's turning it off.
If you look on page 49, you'll see that the Facts of Life course has been deleted.
That was a TV show.
Yeah. And Eileen Nutter came to the curriculum committee and talked. We didn't give her a lot of time, but she talked about why she had eliminated this and restructured it into this class. She felt that this was more in keeping with what kids at this point needed in their life, as opposed to the Facts of Life course. So this is a swap, actually, and they're really excited about it. I'm sure that they're going to do very well with it this year. We'll just find out next year.
What?
That's a 4-letter S word.
What?
Swap.
Oh.
Please, sir. All right. It's a trade.
Apparently there's more interest in this course.
Yeah, apparently.
Will we have reruns of Facts of Life?
I don't know, but I was trying to remember. I was going nuts because do you remember anything else from that curriculum committee, Dr. Davies, when she presented that?
He hasn't got it.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. I just know that they were there and they said.
I was searching for the time. I'm not sure if I was even there when she presented
Maybe that was a while back.
I don't remember Eileen ever coming to a curriculum meeting and presenting anything while I was here.
Yeah. I know it seems like he's been here for years, but
No.
It's only been about 8 years.
All right, I quit. Anyhow, that's what it was.
Yeah, I just have one other comment, and that's, I understand that rigor is real important, but I think what we need to realize is that the times have changed for our kids from the standpoint that one of the decisions that they need to make, and this is, I apologize for being on this financial thing, but I see kids all the time, and the thing that they're faced with is student loans. And the conversations that I've had with my kids in class all the time is, how much can you make to do that? What are you going to borrow to do that? What are the payments going to be, and what's your net salary going to be like after you make that payment? We need to prepare kids for this world of loans, and believe me, they're out there. You know, they used to get us with a mortgage, but they would wait until we could buy a house. No, we're not waiting anymore. We get them now when they're 17.
Russ, the number of student loans outstanding went over $1 trillion.
Oh, it's a while ago now.
12%, so that's $120 billion, is more than 90 days delinquent.
Yep. And if we have not heard, the latest report was that Pennsylvania.
Fourth.
It's nice to get, I heard third, I'm sorry, was it fourth?
Fourth in the nation.
All right, but anyway, our kids graduate with the 4th highest amount of student loans than anybody else in the country. It's nice that we can be in the top 10 something.
As we move down to the topic of college tuition, the page on the dual enrollment reminded me of our earlier discussion about RAC and how our students are paying
Right.
tuition for our teachers to teach their courses. Any progress on that?
No. There doesn't seem to be any interest in challenging that, let's say,
So,
from among the other districts.
Okay.
But I think it's something that should be addressed. I think they've been really, the trade-off is the
what is
kids
the
don't
issue?
have to pay. The issue is that in the past, when we taught courses that were accepted for credit at Reading area, Reading Community College, our teachers, not directly, but our school district would receive a stipend for the teachers that were teaching the courses. Because basically, you know, if they're teaching RAC courses, they should be getting money from RAC. And we would give that to those teachers to use to buy supplies and things like that. They stopped doing that. So they collect the tuition, but they don't have any expenses outside of processing transcripts and so forth.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And their offset was, they said, well, in return, we're not going to charge kids an activity fee. I said, but they weren't using your campus, so there was no reason for any activity fee anyway. Well, that's the trade-off there. And I went to the other superintendents and I said, do you realize it? And they said, yeah, we realize they're not going to pay that anymore. And I said, are you guys all okay with that? And they were like, well, what are you going to do? So it's been like that. I think now this is the third year. I mean, we don't have to sign the agreement with RAC, but, you know, I don't think it's going to change, Dave.
I mean, there is an advantage to our students getting the
Yeah.
college credits. I mean, I wouldn't-
Sure.
Do you know how much the courses cost, Dan? Do you have to know?
100 and something a credit, I'm not,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you look on page 8, you'll find there's a long list of RAC courses that
Yes.
we offer. And at $100 and some a credit, and some of those are 4 credit courses.
Some of them are 4 credits, so kids can pay $400 to $500. Parents can pay $400 to $500.
Do we find out what schools these courses will actually transfer to?
Any state
Any
school,
state
I
school.
believe.
Yeah,
in
that's-
But do we
Pennsylvania.
make the students
In
aware of that
yeah,
fact that they may not be accepted at private schools?
We do, yeah. Sometimes they do, from what I
It
understand.
just
but
depends
they-
on the school.
Yeah. So, I mean, our kids do have the advantage, so I think everyone has sort of lived with it. But I believe it started with when the new president came to RAC. That was the same year. I don't know if that was just a
well,
coincidence, but.
let's remember that the community colleges went through the same thing we did as far as state funding is concerned. And so,
Exactly, but,
yeah, I really believe it. You know, if you're looking at a business model, their product are those credits.
yeah.
And if they start giving them away, obviously that's an issue for them. That's for everyone they give away. That's a potential kid that could have come there and paid that money.
Right. But again, they receive the money, and in return, they, you know,
They give
provide
it-
the transcript to the student, and that's basically all they have to do.
Yeah.
Now, you had a question.
Dr. Bender?
Yes.
You had a question about the yearbook program. And so I'm hoping that maybe Mr. King brought a yearbook.
Pardon?
Did you bring a yearbook?
I did not. I have one.
We have one.
Good.
The next my question was, the yearbook is now moving to a course for credit, and whether that's appropriate for an extracurricular activity to move to become a credit course, which is what we do with our music program.
The amount of time
Yeah.
and effort and
Yeah.
skills that you pick up, I wrote the whole list to you actually from that, but the
Yes,
note
and
that
I don't have any, right,
Right.
Mr. Kane explained that.
But you have to, you have to take a look at this and see how magnificent it is and pass it around, please, because it is truly a magnificent piece of work. So, while you're looking at that,
So I don't quarrel with that.
good. You can, but take a look at it anyhow.
This is Todd. You can all sign it as you're put.
Give it to me first.
Hope to see you soon.
Can we get Jimmy Kimmel music in the background while we do this? Good morning.
Shall we move to vote on this now?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that.
All those in favor of passing the program of studies, the Soaring Eagle, for the senior high school for 2014-15, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
One no, the motion passes. Mrs. Kutcher, item E.
This is all we have for the junior high school changes. And do we have anyone here from the junior high school? No. I'm not exactly sure why they crossed out that part of the health program. But if this is all the change there is, then we might as well go ahead and accept it.
Second. Was that a motion?
I move to, yes, I move it.
Any comments about the junior high Soaring Eagle revisions?
Just, I moved it, but nobody seconded.
I did.
Okay.
All those in favor of accepting the revisions as proposed, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That completes student functions?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Mr. Way?
Hello.
Hello?
Hey, Jim.
We have your report.
Hello, I brought Dan Wilczyk along with me. Dan is our district instructional technology specialist. He is filling Scott Schaefer's shoes now for over a year, I believe.
Yeah,
Right?
year and a half, yes.
So Dan has been Dan's putting together a presentation briefly, but before we, while we're getting started, I prepared a report for you. I'll just go over some of the rough. This year we have a lot of initiatives going on, but they all seem to be really focused. We did laptop replacements in our senior high school, and we're doing a pilot. Dan will talk about that a little more in depth. We have Mighty Campus and Google Apps for Education are two initiatives we've been infusing into the project to try and bring higher order thinking skills and some other 21st century learning to the implementation of our new equipment. We're in the process of implementing e-readers in our elementary libraries. So with funding from the Education Foundation, we're now, how many, Dan? 80, 70?
72.
We're implementing a number of these in the elementary libraries for students to check out. The librarians are starting to build a collection of ebooks that can be signed out multiple times to multiple students. PIMS and PIMS, we got that lovely unfunded mandate that keeps growing every year. It's fun. Now it's tying very closely into PVAS, which is the new teacher value-added assessment system. So again, growing by leaps and bounds. Two of the big initiatives, two of the things that really flow together with what we've been doing this year are STEM and one-to-one. Since Dr. Davies come on board last year, we've been working with the senior high school to start looking at adding a STEM program to our senior high curriculum, starting at the senior high with their curriculum. With the course requirements, graduation requirements change that happened earlier this year, now a math or science credit can be earned for an approved STEM course. So it adds to that diversity, and it adds to our goal of higher order math, science, technology, engineering component. Our one-to-one is something we've been working on. Obviously, a lot of districts around us, a lot of districts in the state have been pursuing the goal of giving a device to every student. And it is something that we feel is attainable, but we want to make sure that we're thinking and we're doing it for the right reasons, and we're planning for the future. We're planning for how we will ultimately sustain it moving forward. Like I said, we implemented about 600 laptops this year to replace some really old equipment. And the idea of replacing the equipment with laptops was it gives us the most flexibility for how we want to treat that in the next year or two. So are we going to push it and move laptop parts down into the junior high and to Reichen to handle some curriculum initiatives? Are we going to keep it at the senior high school and just keep adding to it and build off of that? There's a lot still up in the air. We're doing a lot of behind the scenes work with senior high teachers in our one-to-one pilot. And one of the things that really excites us is just technology. And although we implemented a traditional laptop to most of our students, iPads and iPods, touch devices, Surface devices are so pervasive. And to really make a machine palatable for reading and for consuming content, ebooks, digital textbooks, online resources, we were really hoping to move more towards the idea of a two-in-one or a convertible device that's a traditional laptop, but also becomes a tablet, a touch tablet, so that a student who is sitting in the classroom, or walking in the hallway can carry it, can read it, can touch. In the library, it's more available, and at home, it's also more convenient. Part of the reason we started meeting, Dan, Dr. Davies, and Mr. Kane, we wanted to come up with some guiding principles, and I included our guiding principles, and I think they're important. There's a lot of research that really shows, well, research can show anything. But our guiding principles, and I can say I'll read something one day, it'll convince me of one thing, and then I'll read something later, or I'll talk to another district, just anecdotally, and I'll hear some really good things. So it's important that we as a district have our goals and our guiding principles before we move forward with anything. So I included the guiding principles on the one page in the board report for you to take a look at. But so then Dan can start our presentation.
Thank you, Kevin. So I'm just going to go, this is really short, I don't want to belabor it, just talk about what I've been working with the high school teachers and how we're kind of seeing with the pilot, we've selected a handful of teachers in core subjects to see how this is going to work, if it does work. My thought with everything is you always have to go out there and explore and see if it's going to work before you spend any kind of money or do any kind of full implementation. So these are our, as Joe said, our guiding principles, anytime, anyplace learning, engagement. It talks all about the active engagement involvement with the students. The one thing we haven't seen this year with students, and this is feedback from the teachers and the surveys that we've been doing, is that they're very excited about learning online. It's something that we've always had pushback from students that we force them to come to school and we tell, the saying is that we make them turn off. So they come in, they turn all their devices off, and we set them back to a learning style that they're not traditionally accustomed to or they're not wired to. So we're looking at their engagement and ownership. And we found that one of the things we're seeing in the laptop program currently with the cards that we have in high school is that students are actively involved. Over the first, I think it was in the board report, over the first year that we've been using the online learning management platform, My Big Campus, we had over 15,000 forum posts, and that's students talking back and forth. So it's 15,000. That was this year alone. We had another, when we did a small rollout last year, another 3, I think, towards the end of last year. So it was a total of 17,000 posts since like the last month of school last year to now. So it's a lot. It's a lot of interaction between students, and that is really largely students' interaction. That's not teachers talking, that's students talking to each other. The only thing that I read at one point was an average student gets to ask a question once every 3 days. So you take all the student body, the number of questions asked in an average classroom, that's direct instruction, and the average student generally gets to respond once or ask a question once every 3 days. With these kind of programs and these kind of interaction, students are doing, you see 20 times a day, so per student. So the number of interactions and communications lead drastically. So we're also talking about consistency and equity of access. The one thing that always people ask us about is the BYO, bring your own device. When we looked at a lot of schools, we went to explore a lot of devices and went and visit a lot of schools, and we found that the one thing with BYO is that all the devices were different. They all had different software, and what teachers kept telling us is that we kept trying to do projects, and there was always 3 or 4 kids that just couldn't do them because they didn't have the right software, or their hardware would crash, or they would get a virus, or there was something wrong with it, the battery would die. The equipment just wasn't up to snuff. And it's one of the things I went in this year, and it was actually something that I debriefed with our teachers pretty regularly. And one question I asked them was one thing that I should take back to the board. And they said, it was one of the first things you said to us when we started school. And he said, one student not being able to complete the project is one too many. He said, you know, you came in here and said, we want boot times of less than a minute, so when the computers log in, it's a minute. And if one kid can't get on, then that one kid's holding back the 25 other kids in the class, and you just can't have that. And that was something that resonated with all of them. And I think that's, you know, talks to that. We know with the Keystones and with all our math requirements and our science requirements, writing, that's the next Keystone is coming up, that writing portion. So we're going to see a lot more writing, and this program allows us to, these kind of implementations to allow us to do a lot more writing. We're doing a lot of writing. We did, what was it? There's 20,000 Google Docs up already. I forget what the actual number was. It was a lot. It was 1,100 individual docs. Either way, we implemented Google Docs, and that's the online Office application that we get from Google for free for students. It is, and this is something I always tell parents I talk to, this is not what we get Google for free. They don't sell its advertisements, they don't steal our information. This is a private version of Google that they give to education, and as companies they can buy. It's completely secure. It's not like when you go and sign up for Google. And we've had students collaborate on that a great deal. Rebecca Aker, the one teacher I'm working with, Miranda Dar, she's doing a lot with that. And then curiosity and accessibility, that's the one thing I think I really like myself learning technology because I had it around me. It's that engagement, that accessibility, asking students on the fly, open up your laptop and let's all find this question, let's report back. The one thing that the project we do is I want you to find what the weather is in a foreign country in 30 seconds or less, you know, or we ask to make a connection with somebody overseas and ask them what their regular school day like and report back tomorrow. And it's that, just that excitement of communicating and that collaboration. I think it really, I always say if you can engage a student, they're going to learn. So that's all that vision. So our current environment at our high school, a lot of people ask us, and you know, this isn't cheap. We're already on the path, and I say this, we're already halfway on that path to one-to-one already. We already have, and a lot of people are surprised by this number, 16 laptop cards to high school, which is a lot of equipment. So basically, we have enough computers to high school at this point to outfit almost two entire grade levels. So we're you know, keep going down the path, and every day I'm there. Teachers just saying, I need this equipment, I need this. We have cards, we have 2 cards that we check out, and for the last 3 months, they've never been checked back in. They go from class to class, they never come back. We have a holding room where they get charged. I haven't seen them in the last 3 months. They just don't even come back because they're being moved that much. And the teachers, at this point, the next person that gets it goes right to the class where they're at and takes it to the next class. So, you know, there's definitely a need there and a use there. And that's what I always say. It's good for teachers to come to me and say, I need more. I don't want to say, here, I have this equipment, you have to use it. I always want them to say, hey, I want more, I need more, and this is how I'm going to use it, and this is why I'm going to use it, and this is how I'm going to impact education. So we have 16 laptop cards. We also have an additional 3.5 labs. The half lab is the library, and then the lab, 16 machines in the library, and then full lab of 30 also. And then we have 5 additional classroom labs, which are your graphics labs, your music labs, your engineering labs. So there's a lot of equipment there. So for this year, we selected 7 teachers to pilot a blended learning classroom. And what that is they get a cart. These are not machines that go home, but they actually get a cart, and we're infusing the ideas that we would do for one-to-one, online learning, all the communication, collaboration, digital documentation, digital books, flipping the classroom, which is kind of pre-teaching the lesson, having the students at home pre-teach the lesson and come in and actually have a discussion about the lesson once they come in, that kind of thing. Before the end of the year, and this is actually going to be on 29th, next Wednesday, we picked a single classroom, which is going to be Matt Burkhart's classroom, where we're sending 20 laptops home. We felt that we were successful so far with the pilot in classroom. We're curious what's going to happen when these go home. Is it going to work? Are the kids going to use them? Are they going to say, you know what, I have equipment at home, I don't need to take it home. I'm going to leave it in my locker, and I'm going to use my computer at home, and I'm just going to use this in school. So do we really need to buy them one-to-one? Does it make sense, or do we have, and this is something that we talked to other schools about, and they said sometimes they take them over, some don't. So we have 20 students that we are asking to take the equipment home, see how the filters work, make sure they're safe, make sure they work appropriately, and also expand what Matt's doing in the first semester to the second semester to talk about how we can actually expand this class. And I met with him this morning. He was incredibly excited this morning. I said, yeah, how's it going? And he said, I can't stop thinking about this. Like, I don't want to sleep thinking about this. These kids are coming to me, they're engaged. I know
I can tell you, my daughter mentioned it today.
Yeah.
Her friends are already buzzing about it.
Yeah.
She's a little irritated that she's not in there. So. They say, hey, your dad's on the school board. We'll see what you play. But they're very, very excited about it.
Yeah.
So, already.
So it's good.
And it's good for us because it'll allow us to kind of figure out the details.
Mhm.
How are the machines going to work at home? What are the things we're not thinking about? We are going to be providing filtered machines. So they will go home with our district internet content filter. So how will that work? Will there be issues, with home if parents have their own filtering solution at home? We think that some districts don't filter the laptops when they go home, and I think our filtering policy that Dr. Martin has worked with us on is very fair, and we loosen and open up sites as they're requested. Our policy addresses a procedure, if sites are blocked for a student or a teacher to request them to be unblocked. So I think we're open and we accept that. Some sites we're not going to open because they have hazards. They have social media or other aspects of it that we can't control, and we feel will go against our terms of our acceptable use policy. So, but we want to see how that works. We want to see, are they going home and charging them and coming prepared for the next day, with a full charge? Are they using them or are they not using them? Do they have internet at home? We met with Student Forum this year, and we had a really super nice group of kids, and we had a very quiet group of kids. And they were all very complimentary of having the new equipment because they were in a situation where they saw the stuff last year, which was very old. And they were excited. Some of the students were telling us, I don't have Office at home, so I do my assignments. I'm working on my paper on my phone. So they'll type up a whole paper on their iPhone or iPod Touch. Some of our students were telling us that they will write it, they will do an assignment here in Word, copy it to simple text, save it on a flash drive, take it home because they don't have Word, they'll edit it in a text editor and then save it. So they're making these accommodations, but we want to see how the students will do with the set of tools that we provide, as well as what are the tools that they want us to provide on the laptop. So we're going to have an open discussion with them to determine what our final machine image will look like.
Now, what happens in the unlikely event of a loss or stolen PC, baby brother tramps on the screen? What's the general school policy?
We're trying to figure out how we're going to handle that. There are a number of ways. There are third-party insurance brokers. There are some districts that self-insure, so students pay a fee of $20 to $40 a year. It goes into a pool, covers loss, repair, damaged machines. Neglect typically is neglect if it's deemed neglect. Then there is in some of the districts that self-insure, they have what's the word I'm thinking of? They have a small amount of money they have to pay, a deductible they have to cover for the expense of the repair. So we just have to talk to the districts around us to determine what's best, what's working, and then what's best for us. Some districts, I know Brooks IU was insuring some of the districts for the first couple of years, and it just became cost prohibitive. And I think Kutztown actually went to the self-insure model where students pay this $20 to $40 a year and it just goes in the pool. Penn Manor is doing, I think they're doing $50 a year for insurance. And then at the end, their plan also is that in the end, the students will graduate and leave and take the machine with them. So the machine becomes, there's that ownership question. And ideally, in a perfect scenario, the student would have the machine for 4 years and they would leave with them, and then we would cycle into the machine at that point.
Do you have a rough idea of what the third-party per unit insurance cost would be?
We just
roughly.
Square Trade, we just got a quote for a $600 laptop, a 3-year total accidental damage warranty is $149.
Yeah, that includes, I let my dog eat it, I dropped a bucket of water on it, I let it out in the snow.
It doesn't include that.
And they just give you a new one. They don't even.
That's a 3-year number or a 1-year number?
The 1-year number was $99.
3 year.
For 3 years.
Yeah, and they're pretty good. I've used them before for
Sure.
personal stuff. And they're a solid company. They're as solid as anybody else. So I don't know if that's cheaper or you're kind of self-insured. You go into that a little unknown. Yeah, something. I talk to schools.
I think it'd be expensive for us, but I'm not sure if it's expensive for kids to have it.
Well, if we could find a way of taking that $40 and again, building that insurance fund, and if that's, that cost across multiple years, building that insurance fund, that might be a way of
We do. I mean, buying in bulk that we buy, when I found bought 600 machines, it is nice as a grade. You can often take 3 broken ones and repair it with 1 that broke. So you can kind of get 3-to-1 kind of thing. You get a screen or a keyboard or a port, you can kind of piece, you get that one motor part and you part it out and you actually do pretty good on it.
And I do think the ownership issue is a big one, because if you give somebody something that they give back, they take one level of care with it. And I think that's anything.
It's a loader.
But if you give it as a graduation present,
Right.
I
think anybody would take better care of it. So.
We're talking with Microsoft about that because our district is involved in a Microsoft licensing program that gets us Microsoft at a very low cost, Microsoft Office and the operating system. So they are changing their models a little bit so that students are eligible to get a free version of Office. So our question to Microsoft was, if the student is eligible for free Office on 5 devices, why can't our device be one of those 5 devices? And if we're registering that one student, then they should be able to leave with it. The operating system is a challenge because we're basically installing an enterprise level operating system on the machines so that we can image them in bulk. We can take 100 machines, we can set them up on a table, we can hit a button, and then all 100 of them will be identical. If we were doing that with the consumer operating system, we couldn't do anything one at a time. So, but then at the tail end, that consumer version or that enterprise version of the license is not transferable, whereas the consumer version would be. So we're just trying to deal with all those little nuances of licensing. And we were in talks with Microsoft. They were here last week about just that situation. So,
can I ask you or Dr. Davies or Dr. Martin a question? In our district, in our high school, what's your guesstimate as to the percentage of kids who don't have access to a PC type of unit when they go home? Would have something like Excel or Word or something.
We've talked about this quite a bit during our meetings, and I think it's not just who has access, but who has access when they need it.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a shared computer at home. I know that's the way it was when I was at home, and I think that really is, when you're talking about access, it's you may have a computer in the home, but they may not have the right software. They may not have they may have a brother or somebody they're sharing with.
There's a lot of equipment that you get it for Christmas, and it works for a year or 2, and then on the 3rd year it doesn't work. You don't have the proper software. I mean, I think there is, and we've done some research with the teachers. I'm more worried about internet access than the equipment. I do find from talking to students, it's pretty all over the place. In that some students have really nice equipment, but the parents buy it for them and then potentially they break it. There's a lot of issues with just inconsistencies, or their sister has it. I think that was the biggest thing, is that almost everybody said they have a computer, but probably half of them said it doesn't work all the time, it's inconsistent, or it's not updated, it's got a virus, or my brother's using it, or my dad doesn't
always
use
get
it.
on the internet,
Yeah.
and I can only use it for this or that because I can't just log on.
They almost all said that, my parents have a computer, but he has it for work, or my dad has it for work. But I think a lot of us at work now, you see a lot of that with people that they have their work computers, but they don't have a computer for their children to use. They don't buy another one. And also, the other thing we talked about was that almost all the machines now are considerably cheaper, but they're coming without software now. None of them come with Office anymore.
Yeah.
3 or 4 years ago, you buy a computer, it was $600-700. You with Office, they built it in. Your computers are now $300 to $600, but they don't have the software, so kids don't have Office. And that's one of the reasons we implemented Google Docs, so we can have a program that is, a 90% editor. It does about 90% of what Office does for free. The kids can go home and do it on anything with a web browser, and it works really well.
Yeah.
Now, what about that web, what, you know, the at-home
at-home
web
access.
accessibility that
Yeah.
allows you to do? Is that something that, and again, I'm not a technology expert by any means, are computers equipped that you're talking to the vendors that would allow?
Oh, you're talking about Wi-Fi cell?
Yeah, kind of Wi-Fi access.
WiMAX?
Yeah,
So,
something.
we're not. I mean, we're better off looking at Comcast, or talking to Service Electric. Comcast has a program for people who can't afford internet or have a financial hardship that they cut. Now, I'm trying to get someone in Service Electric to cut us the same deal they have at this point. Yeah, I don't know why. Service Electric is really awesome.
You know, and there are all sorts
don't.
of unique situations arising. You know, there's a company called Freedom Pops
Right.
that is offering
500 megs of
Yeah.
free. So we are looking at those are little boxes, and those are we actually have. I'm getting one. I know Joe has one. And they actually work really well. We actually have a couple of those. And they're you're seeing a lot of that now. That's probably my biggest concern is that probably 3% that don't have internet access. I was excited to see Panera because I live in the Wilson School District and I can never get to see a Panera at Wilson because the kids over there always want to work. I mean, it's you know, it's Panera and Barnes and Nobles are where kids go to work on the internet. And I guess probably from Penn State students are there all the time too. But I was excited to see that here, and they do offer Wi-Fi here in the library, and that's something I'm trying to create a document to show where they can get free Wi-Fi and that kind of thing. And I don't know, maybe we can even offer some library hours or work with the community library to get kids access there so we can go and use it.
What's interesting, Kutztown would tell us that they would start seeing on the weekends cars parked in the parking lot. The students would come to the school and they would hop on the district Wi-Fi to get some stuff done over the weekend.
The picnic tables are outside the high school.
Parked by
Right.
I think it'd be more expensive for us to buy our students' cars.
Yes, yes, that would.
Probably.
Insurance is not a problem.
All right, so these were our goals for this year, just the small pilot with the core content teachers. And we just wanted to talk to you quickly about these just to give you a sense of what we were trying to accomplish with this year. High levels of engagement, high levels of discussion, interaction, and this is what we've been seeing so far with the data. New information, creating meaningful connections, exploration, hypothesis, rigorous research, and we're seeing students do that now. We want them to go out there and engage in history. We want them to go out there and do projects that are relevant to them. So for Martin Luther King Day, we talked about not just talking about Martin Luther King, but going out there and selecting one of the prominent leaders. We always talk about Martin Luther King, but there were many prominent leaders out there, and having students select it and really engage what their interest is. So if they want to look at female rights in that time, or if they are sociologists and they want to look more at sociology, or they were economics and looking at any kind of area. So we're looking about and focusing students on their expertise and really letting them research that and letting them build those projects. And that's what we're working with. Matt's been doing a lot of that stuff, so we're starting to get into that. And collaboration. Collaboration's huge with this. We know we want our students to collaborate more, so we've seen a ton of collaboration. Miami Campus has really allowed us to do that. And also with Google Docs. One thing that Google Docs is great for, if you've never seen this, is that it allows students to multi-edit the document. What that means is that up to 30 students can be on a single document at once. So I did a project a couple weeks ago with our geology class where they group created the lesson for the day. So all 30 students went in and created a particular element and a rock and had very structured patterns, and they all created this giant presentation for the day and then presented it as one. So we created this basically the teacher's lesson. So you almost kind of flip the lesson and have the students create it, and then the students kind of present it, and they fix each other. So it's really interesting to watch students go in and find a typo and look at all the slides and then fix each other's, and you basically get this giant piece of work that's ended by 25 students in class at once. It's pretty interesting to see. And it worked really well. And the students were they were engaged all the time. And they were really excited about math, what we could do with next. So I thought that was really interesting to see. Talking about rocks, it's not, it's not something that they're always that excited about. They were pretty engaged. Our second goal was just the involvement, rigorous blended learning, and using Miami Campus. So we wanted the teachers to post all their work, get it out there. The one thing we've been seeing, and this is interesting, is that Two things. One, when the students are absent, they can do the work at home, which I don't know if they like or not, but they're doing it. And it's actually engaging them. We're having less issues with getting work caught up. So if a student does have extended leave, or if they're going on a trip, they can do that work and it's there. So the teachers that we've been working with this, they put all that stuff up there. Also on the flip side, which I didn't anticipate this, but it actually was something that we saw a lot of, is that when teachers were out, when they were sick with their own children at home, or when they got pulled out for a day for training or not, something, that lesson continued to flow. We do our best with our subs, but at the end of the day, those subs, because the students were accustomed to learning online, it helped them really maintain that lesson that the teacher normally teaches, and it gave them a better footing and actually continued for that class flow. The teachers came back the next day and said, you know what, I was surprised that I really didn't have to reteach that the next day. We stayed in pace, and the kids really did the lesson that I planned for that day. When I came back, they were right on task.
And the teachers were checking in, actually,
They
to
were
see the work
checking
that was
in.
happening. So
Right.
while it was happening live in the classroom, the teachers were able to hop into the class and the documents and see what was going on, see the collaboration and commenting.
Yeah, so it's interesting because you can see kids collaborating, talking back and forth, and sometimes I jump in and just throw comments out there, and it surprises them. So we monitor everything that's going on and watch what they're doing. So it's pretty interesting to see. So I think that's pretty good. Students are conducting research and sharing content, collaborating with peers and teachers. So we've seen a lot of that. Is there a question? No. Okay. All right, so how are we evaluating all this? These are the things that we're doing. We're doing a pre and post survey, teacher, students. We're doing teacher observation, student and teacher documentation. We're going in there and we're writing reports. So all these things that we're doing online, we have this great analytical system now that we can go in and we can run reports and say, hey, there were 17,000 posts in there. I was a little speechless when I saw that, and I see this every day, and I didn't anticipate that. I really did. That number, to me, really jumped off the page. I was a little surprised to see that, and I see it every day. So it's really nice. Google Docs can go in there. We can see weekly, daily, how many kids loaded, how many kids are co-collaborating on documents, what type of document, how many created new, how many just refreshed old documents. So there's a lot of analytics in there.
20,000 new files in Google Docs in 2 or 3 months.
So,
and over 1,000 collaborating documents, meaning that more than 3 people, more than 2 people are in a document.
2 people are sharing that document, working on it together. So we implemented Google Docs a month into school. So that's in a pretty short time span, and that only at the high school. No one else besides 9 to 12.
So what range of kids are you seeing in this world? Is it a broad cross-section of our entire school population?
In my campus?
Yeah.
Currently it's 9 through 12.
Okay. But is it?
All the kids that are interacting?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. We picked 4 classes in each of the core contexts, but they were broad swap. It was everybody from honors kids down to kids that are special ed. Okay. Yeah, everybody. And that's, special ed kids and kids that need reinforcement, this is excellent for it because I have an auditory learning problem, and I'm not an auditory learner, and I always need to learn at my pace. I'm great at retention, and I'm advanced as a student, but when teachers were flying through math, I would have to go back and review that. And I found with these types of lessons and what else stuff's up there, the kids can go back and they review the lesson. Teachers post a whiteboard lesson, someone posts actual physical videos of what they were doing. The kids can pause it, think about it, do the problem, go back, review it, do it again, and listen to it again and again. We also had a computer class with kids, and we didn't set this up. They were using Google Docs. A single student created Google Docs, and they all started taking group notes. And at first I was like, wow, I don't know if that's appropriate. And the teacher didn't even realize it. I was like, should I tell the teacher? And we started looking at it, we're like, this is excellent. These kids are all in, and I can actually see it color codes who does what, all the notes. It actually color codes them. So we could go in there and look and see that all the kids were contributing to it. They were expanding on each other's notes and reviewing it, and it was incredible. It's what group community learning was all about. So I mean, it really it took off from there, and that's a computer class, and that's a pretty mixed class. Nerds like myself, but mostly mixed ability levels in that class.
What about out of school? You're saying now that they can mess around in out of school. So are the conversations out of school still school related, or do they sort of get sidestepped to other things?
The one thing that I didn't talk about is my campus is fully monitored by a computer system and by a human. So there's they have this personality they call Bob Campus, which the kids don't. It's Bob Campus will send emails or flag if you get anything inappropriate. The one thing that I said with the teachers was that I told them that if any kid did anything appropriate, I would get notified, and within 10, 15 minutes, we would pull that kid out of class and discuss it with them immediately. It happened 3 times, and within that first month, it pretty much just stopped. Because the kids knew that we were going to address it immediately. If there was an issue that had to go to the principal would get involved immediately, and we just hit it aggressively. We explained to them the whole gamut of it. Everything in there is archived. You can't delete anything. Even when it's deleted, it just hides it from public view. We still have all access to it. We went through it intensively, and we do a small training with the students, so they're well aware that everything in there is school related. Quite frankly, they don't want to talk about personal stuff that we can see. They have no interest in it. That being said, do conversations go on? They are, and they've been absolutely appropriate. The worst one I saw was about 2 kids giving each other, about 2 football teams, giving each other a hard time about 2 football teams. They were razzing each other. And it was, something that I even jumped in and said, hey, you guys, are you on task? And they said, yeah, we're just taking a break. And they jumped right back on task, and I saw what they were doing. They were absolutely fine. They really were just taking a breather and giving each other a hard time. So that was, that's the kind of stuff. But really, it's been pretty good. And I think if you ask the teachers that, they really don't have a lot of really issues with it. It's a good system, and that it's developed by our filtering company. So the same company that does all the internet filtering, which are schools, they're a school-only company. They're not a business company. They work with schools only. Privately held company. They developed a great system. The system's only 3 years old, and they spent a lot of time really investing in that. And I think that's why it's worked well for us.
And it does some good keywords. There is some scanning behind the scenes of what dialogue is happening, what words are being used.
Yes.
Just like with Google Docs. One of the biggest concerns with implementing Google Docs is now every student has a Exeter email address. They have a myexeter.org email address. And it is locked and restricted to only other students and employees of Exeter School District. And it's archived in our email archive. And it's internet filtered. So every email that goes gets checked against a list of words. And if there are questionable words, it notifies us that, hey, there was some alert. There are a couple of words that, we think you should investigate, and we can go and we can look at the conversation, and if something happens, we can bring it to Mr. Kane's attention.
Thank you.
The one of the 3 that we had, one was, they were bantering, and at the end of the day, I don't think it was. The one kid just flagged himself as inappropriate, as bullying. He flagged himself, just he was goofing around and flagged himself. So it was like, even the issues that we had were incredibly minor. So it really hasn't been an issue at all.
Within these Google Docs, when you're in there publishing and someone else comes in, I'd imagine they can make their own comments, but your own work is still saved, correct? So they can't come in and delete a couple of your paragraphs, then now...
It's different than Word. It actually keeps every revision history. So every time you open it or close it, it's actually about every 3 minutes, it creates a new version. So you can go back. So if I've been working on a document for an hour, I'll have like 30 versions in there that I can go back and I can restore any old version. So anybody that messes something up, I can remove my last editor. I can also set up hierarchies. So when I invite somebody, I start the document, I'm the owner. I invite somebody, I invite them as a co-creator and co-editor, or I invite them as comments only, which will show up a little pop-up box on the right, or I invite them as view only. So you can choose any level of permissions. And then it also keeps every history and color codes everything everybody does.
Yeah, so like an editing, similar to a Word document, you can be in there doing the editing. And
yep, exactly.
Where people are editors and it's noted.
Yeah, and even it's incredible. If you've never seen it, we can show you when I get a chance. When you're on live, it actually has a student's name exactly right where the cursor is. As they're typing, it shows you their name. And it'll actually color code what they're doing on the fly.
Then those same students then possibly go at home if they don't have that machine at home.
Absolutely everywhere.
Google Docs is entirely in the cloud.
I mean, are students doing that now?
Yes.
Yes. Fully web-based. So anything that has an internet, including, this is the big thing, including an iPhone, an iPad, an Android device, so a Nexus device, any of those documents fully edit as well. So
yeah, I realize that, but are our students doing that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because writing is such a time-consuming component that there's not enough time in the classroom. It's a waste of time in the classroom to do it when the teacher's there. And what we're finding is that even teachers are jumping in at night sometimes and actually watching. You can jump in and see what the kids are doing and editing, and they can grade it on the fly. So the kids will see there the next day they come in, that work's done and edited. So it's not, they're not waiting for it to turn it in before the kids get back to that class. So if they have a period 5 class, the teacher in the morning can go in and see what the kids did that night before, throw their comments in, write in the document because the teacher's an editor, and then give it back to the student on the fly. So it's pretty, Rebecca Aker, our language arts teacher that is in this pilot program, has done a lot of that. She's done an excellent job. Is there any questions?
So how many students are in the pilot program?
It's 4 classes right now. We're adding a couple more right now. So I don't, depending on if they're blocked. So like Mr. Burkhart's class has, he has 4 blocks, I believe. So depending on the number and size of classes, but it's, if they teach 7 classes, it's that many.
It's a sizable number, and we also have,
hundreds.
understanding that we replaced 18, we replaced,
About 400?
we replaced all of the carts, basically. So all of our classrooms for the future equipment, which was the state grant 5 years ago, all of those Lenovo's have been pushed into, they're actually in the old lab duty right now. We put the newer laptops out in mobile carts for additional classroom teachers to use. So we have carts that are signed out, carts that are being used for single purpose remediation, carts that are in science where they're splitting, they're using 4 or 5 machines at a time. So it's really hard for us to gauge. Dan's working very closely with a set number of teachers, but he's a victim of his own success because he's getting tickets and he's getting phone calls. We're getting calls from teachers saying, hey, I have the cart, I just signed it out, and I'm doing a lesson in Google Docs, and who are you? Okay, sure. So then Dan will go over and talk to them and help them to be successful. So we're having a lot more teachers try it because, again, it's the students have it in these other classes.
Yeah.
And they're almost, it's kind of like the success of whiteboards. Whiteboards became more of a, well, last year my teacher used an interactive whiteboard and I had notes and all this other stuff, and that kind of is it's a push, it's a little additional encouragement. So when teachers see that other classrooms are doing Live in Campus or they're doing Google Docs, they want to do it because many of our teachers have been taking Google Docs classes, and now that we have the infrastructure for them to really handle it and do it and be successful.
And the kids play. They enjoy it, so that engagement, they're saying, hey, this is great stuff, and we see what we're doing. So that's what we want to create that movement, and everybody can work collaboratively and say, hey, I want to show what I'm doing, and they're excited about showing to each other what they've done.
Thank you for this presentation. I also want to express my appreciation that it's not just the technology, but you've thought through the guiding principles that you presented, and you have goals in the underlying thought process that you have with this. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I may be forced to come over to the high school. You may win the argument.
Please, I encourage you. I couldn't say no. Okay. And I apologize. We were originally going to have some teachers here, but because of the snow, the schedules got messed up. So we're going to be here on Tuesday. So
if any of you
if
would
have any
like
questions,
to,
please.
and we could spend 10 minutes showing you how to use Google Docs, and it's such a simple thing, but it's amazing. I'm on staff for training in Scouts, and all of us now are collaborating. We're creating our list of instructors, and we're creating our outline for who's doing different presentations on Google Docs. It's really, maybe it's a great tool for the board to automate your minutes. We'll talk later.
Well, Mike, you had asked about technology committee meeting.
Yeah, well,
maybe that could be something open to the whole board that we learn more about what's going on.
yeah, I met briefly with these folks last week just to sort of get caught up to speed on this. So we will talk about that and get the next meeting scheduled where we can have a further update.
We will have a formal presentation about what our intentions are for one-to-one. Later on in spring, would be what I would assume.
You mentioned research, Joe. There's some feeling about research that all this technology is not advanced learning at all.
You have to have the right purpose in mind. And there are some districts that just want to do a one-to-one, and they do a terrible job implementing it, and it's just it's just giving technology to the students and they don't know what to do with it. It's not thoughtful, there's no plan, there's no professional development, and that's not the model we hope to implement. We really hope to be successful from professional development all the way to student engagement.
Thank you.
The only thing that I would ask is when we do maybe get together for technology committee or make a presentation to the board is I'd love to see some kids here on computers showing us how to do it and how they do it and how they collaborate. Because I think it really works to be able to see them
We
using
had
it.
that tech fair
We had the tech fair last year.
Yeah.
Which was terrific.
It was, yeah, we'd like to do that again. It was, this year, it was a lot of time with this, but I think next year we definitely want to put that together.
And we hope to have a teacher here on Tuesday night, but the weather obviously messed with that.
Yeah, I would like, once we get these, hopefully these 20 students that are going to take these home, I'd love to invite some of them. I met with them today, and they're excited about it. 3 of them.
21.
So.
Getting the teachers excited about it is the critical part. The
It
kids
is.
will be excited about it.
Yeah.
The teachers, and they know what they're going to do with it, and they get ideas, and like you say, they're up at night thinking of different things they could do with it, and bothering you all the time, which is great.
Yeah,
That's
it's
what we
wonderful.
want.
No, it's great.
Sometimes it's amazing what the kids will force you into.
Mm.
Mr. So-and-so is doing.
Exactly.
That's what my
Yeah, you're right.
experience, truly.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
amazing. I don't understand why you're not doing this, Casey.
Yeah, and then, you get competitive, like, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
I was going to say force me to death.
Well, after I got to this item, I noticed our agenda inserted the discussion items before we had the rest of the committee meeting reports.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I thought, what?
No, I thought it was something new. I thought maybe it was.
But then Ann wants to show us one slide, I think.
I thought it was a vendor signature.
That's just number one over there.
And I'm not sure what, I think Donna and Natalie maybe cut and paste the wrong way and it's got out of order.
Yeah, it totally confused me.
I
didn't know
just want to say, guys, how did you see this on the agenda?
Yeah, you're not on the agenda.
This will be
You should save that for executive session at 11.
It will. There's really 2 important things that I just want to point out tonight. A couple changes to the staffing that's in the budget, and then the other thing, the results of the calculations on the exception. I do provide, a lot of slides. I like to have a full package so that when I post it on the website, people can make sense of the story of the budget that we're trying to tell here. For the facts of the budget. Also attached is revenue detail and object expenditure detail. So I am going to go through this fairly quickly. The dollars really haven't changed significantly. Good news, revenue, real estate collection rate, 97%. I used that number in the estimate this year and next year, so we're on track with that. Expenses, we're seeing some increase in early intervention, the IU, for the younger kiddos, and that's up this year. Results of bond interest, reduction. We refunded, had some savings, which are spread out over a couple of years, but we issued some new money, $2.5 million for future capital projects.
Excuse me, and that revenue less expense, is that a good figure, or?
That is this year deficit, but it's down from 1.8 as we originally.
Right, thanks.
Okay. And these are just changes since the last presentation on 12/17. The preliminary budget, really no there's anything significant. Made some wage changes. Now, on February 4th, the governor presents the budget to the General Assembly. What we're reading in articles, there may be some infusion of dollars for education, but it could be linked to reform and pension. Projected expense, $70,000. This just gives you an idea of, I added a column, 71% of our revenues from local sources. Again, I try to add some slides that you can take a look at to give you some perspective on what has happened since 2010-11 through the preliminary budget. Local sources increased $1.3 million, and that really equates to the increases we had in millage in 11-12, 12-13 current year, a little over 1 mil. This increase in the state sources, 2.4 million of that really over that period of time relates to the increase in reimbursement from the state for the pension contributions. And again, you see the federal money drop off from 10-11 to the current time, and that's where the ARA, the SFSF money went away in 11-12. Again, our expenditures highlighting we're up at 69.5 million for 14-15. It was a $70,000 increase from the last presentation. Reasons are we're proposing to reinstate the MAP coordinator position that's been vacant for 3 years. Exactly. Curriculum writing, but we're also offsetting. There's 2 elementary positions that have long-term substitutes in, which we probably will not fill next year because of the elementary enrollment is declining. So adding 11.